everyone, my name is Aisha Pagan, and today I want to talk about homeless people, how people become homeless, how did they get to that situation. That will be what I want to speak about, how we can fix the situation. So I have a couple questions at first. Like, I just want to know, have you, if you think about it, have you ever experienced being unable to rest in your own comfortable bed and being having to be outside on on the cold night outside on the street, um or thought about what it would feel like being, going from shelter to shelter and being homeless and hopping from home to home or from car to car. um or have you ever been just walking down the street and seen someone laying on the ground and wonder, like, wow, what happened to them? How did they get there? Did they even ever have a real, a normal life like we do? I want you to know that it's very natural for everybody to think of the personal implications of the situation of being homeless. I myself have several examples that I would like to consider when we're talking about the homeless, and I would like to focus on our community, the city you live in, the community that is attached um, to you. Um, I want to talk about the influences, their resources, their health services. Those are the things that I want to talk about. So throughout the years, I have consistently been motivated to try to help the homeless. I've always taught my children that, you if you see somebody asking for $1, don't give them. You might not want to give them the dollar, but you might go in there and buy that coffee and bring it back to them. Um, I have also conducted researches and read many stories of homelessness as how people have ended up that way. This topic has always had my interest. I don't know if it's just because I had a family member myself who was, you know, like to live the homeless life, although he had a home, or it's just driving by and seeing so many homeless people has always caught my eye. Um, the prevalence of homeless has reached among high levels. It continues to escalate. Um, the surge in unaffordable housing has had so many people just homeless and not having a place to be or a place to go. Um, I want to talk about um homelessness. I want everyone to see the factors of homelessness, the factors that come with homelessness. Um, I watched a CNN report. I'm sorry, I read a CNN article of the raising of the housing costs. Like, housing USA has made it harder for many people to find affordable places to live. Um, Leaving a number of large individuals homeless. This year reported in a survey conducted in January, last year, I'm sorry. The last annual report determined that 12% compared to last year, which in translations to increase the rough 70,000 people who are homeless. It has made it really challenging for individuals to be able to pay rent, to be able to live and be able to live a normal life. The concept of homeless has changed quite a bit. How people have a concept of how they look at homelessness, and there's this concept that goes around, the media and the people who look at it, and that being homeless is a negative. They're negative people, or they're being labeled as drug addicts, alcoholics. When that fully sometimes is not the case. I read an article called Voices of the Homeless, and in that article, I read about a woman whose name was Mary. She was a teacher, she was a model, and she was a survivor from domestic violence. But because of Mary's domestic violence, this caused her to put herself in isolation. Mary fought Mary spoke about how she fought about depression for years. She fought against depression for many years, which led her to financial difficulties. And that situation led her to not being able to pay her rent and then being evicted. Um, if you listen to Mary's story, the story highlights how frequent we ignore the challenges faced by the individuals who lose everything for reasons other than just drugs. And it's important to consider the numerous of factors that can push someone into homeless. Mary, if you think about it like this, Mary's experience with depression had her feeling entangled in a cycle that just kept going. She had her feeling isolated and devote devoted to not being able to have any help from mental support or resources, lacked her to have the support that she needed, which then caused her to fall into the cycle where she now became homeless. Um, so those are examples of, like, they're not everyone who's homeless is a drug addict. They shouldn't be labeled. These things can happen to anyone, to you, to me, to anyone. There are many reasons on why some might end up homeless, but few key factors stand out. These include increasing the cost of housing, like I spoke about earlier, a drop of income, issues with the government support. Another recent report from the University of New Hampshire and the Boston University and the University of Pennsylvania reveals that cities where many residents pay over one third of their paycheck for rent. Um, that alone makes it more prone to face housing crises and homelessness. The rental prices are just outrageous, and it seems that people can't keep up. Um, Another factor that plays into that is the inefficient support from the government officials. Um, Over the last 10 years, there's been, policies and people trying to come up with all these policies to help the homeless, and most of them have not been effective. In fact, by many measures, these policies have only worsened the situation. Like, if you want to think about it, let's take a look at the pandemic. When the pandemic was happening, the federal government handed out, assistance to help people pay their rent, or people were unable to be evicted. And all these programs had helped people get by the pandemic. But then when the pandemic was all over, it was leaving everyone back to square one, because the pay didn't go up, and the jobs now, these businesses now were trying to make all the money they had already lost, and it just we're back at square one. Another factor is low income families. For some low income families, a little change on your rent can make a huge difference, and you can almost become homeless. It's not easy to be able to afford rent and food, and it's the reasons these things happen is just people end up homeless not only because they're drug addicts or because they're alcoholics. It just, it can happen to any one of us. A lot of people, now that I've talked about some of the reasons behind the ongoing issues, I want to discuss the steps that we need to take to fix it. A lot of people in these cities and across the country have joined forces to form nonprofit organizations that support the homeless in many ways. You can get involved with any of these groups by signing up, making donations, or simply spreading the word. Those things help us make things better. We can help the homeless and help this situation by doing those things. Another idea is that we need to lower, the government needs to lower the cost of living. There's a zoning law where in the zoning law, you're not able to build low incomes on this side, or you can't build buildings on this side, and you can't build houses on this side. That alone doesn't help the situation with homeless. I think that creating a crisis system that can help identify experiencing homeless people who are experiencing homelessness, or those who are on the urge of becoming homeless, preventing homelessness as quickly as possible can help with these numbers rising for the future. A crisis system approach might help reach goals and help these people who are homeless come out of the homeless situation, or help prevent people who are not homeless but on the urge of homeless not, you know, um, become homeless. Um, the solutions, as I explained earlier, they come in all kinds of forms. Any little thing you can do for your own community, or spreading the word of homeless, and anything you can help spreading the word, looking for programs, donating used clothes, all those things help these homeless people. What we might help them get by, what we might think is no good, is a pot of gold for a homeless person. Doing what you can is the most important thing. Um, for me, I feel like I have presented the problem of homelessness, that when it comes to this problem, it's a very touchy situation. We need to stop ignoring the situation and stop creating this concept that it's only people who are alcoholics and addicts. We need to understand that this can happen to anybody. We must find new creative ways to help people by experiencing homeless, again, through education, through recreation, religion, through shelters. Just remember that everyone has a voice, and to I urge you to help the needy so that we can end this. It's a sad thing to look at, and we never know what someone's situation is, but being homeless isn't healthy, and it is not it. We need to help these people find a new way to live. I hope that I gave you the information that you need, and I hope you can be that next person to reach out, again, whether it's sharing information or, donating. Thank you.